All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Wednesday evening meditation group. Thank you all for coming. Glad to have you all here. So today, when I was teaching, this kind of came up, and I just sort of thought it was interesting. When we talk about meditation, we talk about hindrances. One of the things kind of in Buddhist thought is that there are hindrances that prevent us from being liberated in the language of Buddhism, but to kind of being able to see things as they really are, that we cloud them with context or feelings or anger or things of this nature. And we were doing an exercise in the class related to, it's an interviewing class related to teaching about reflection. And one of the students, in responding, said, I don't think I'm really doing well. You always say there's no right or wrong answers here, but I don't feel my answers are good. So we talked a little bit about that. I talked a little bit about that in response. And what I tried to say is that you don't want to evaluate just your answers, right? The key thing to do is when you provide an answer and you get some feedback and it feels like this wasn't a good answer, not to focus on that I'm not doing well, but to try to focus on what I can take in. And to each time that we begin for another part of the exercise, you start fresh without carrying over or grasping onto the fact that I'm not doing well, because that grasping onto it and this feeling that I'm not succeeding stays with us and it acts as a hindrance as we try to go forward. And I just thought that was very parallel to a lot of the things that I think about with meditation is that we let things that we do or think or say or feel or whatever, we can feel badly about them. We can carry them. And as we try to go forward, they kind of linger and they act as a hindrance for us to be able to move forward because we're more thinking about our emotion, our disappointment, our sense of not being good enough, whatever that is that we're holding on to. And that's the lens we start to see our actions through, as opposed to that happened, it's past, what can I do as I go forward? How do I embrace that in a way that I can learn and move myself forward? So it was just sort of an interesting moment. And as I was talking, it just sort of brought me back to all of these things we often talk about. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The teaching always gives me something to talk about because I learn so much about what it is I try to teach when I teach it. I always find that interesting. All right, so I'm going to set my watch and we will move on with our meditation. All right. All right, so as we are here today, let us get ourselves settled and we can close our eyes and find that nice, comfortable place and bring ourselves right to this point in time, this late evening moment or early evening moment on this Wednesday. We take a breath in and we trace our breath and we let it flow through us. And as we let it flow through us, we feel the air as it enters us. We feel our lungs expand. We feel our belly rise. And then as we expel the air, we feel all that retract. And we would just repeat that sequence to get us settled, to get us in a place of mindfulness, of awareness, of being right in the present moment. And we use our breath as a cleaner to clear ourselves off, to wipe the debris of the day out, to wipe anything that's lingering, and to just settle into the present moment. When we breathe in and we breathe out, as we breathe in, we think about the awareness and being aware of our breath. Our breath goes into our body. We feel it. We feel it completely inside of us. And then other breath leaves. We see it oftentimes as the same breath, but it really isn't. In our bodies absorb what it needs from the oxygen into our bloodstream, feeding our muscles, feeding our brains, feeding our senses. And so this air that we take from outside of us, this oxygen that floats around, that we are swimming in, that we take for granted and don't typically think about unless it's not there, but we don't think about its presence. We feel it all around us. We feel it through its temperature that it presents to us. We can feel it on our skin. Sometimes if we're outside and it's moist or humid, we feel that moisture. We feel it in our lungs when it comes in. We feel it in our breath out as it leaves us. But we're like a fish in the ocean, but we're like a fish in the air, a fish on the ground. And we swim in this wherever we go. And so in a sense, we want to thank the air. We want to feel gratitude for the fact that it's there for us and that we are dependent on it for our lives and our existence and our awareness. And we act as a filter for it. As it gives us life, we return it back out in ways that it can be used by other things, by the foliage and the greenery that requires a more carbon-based air, and it turns back into oxygen. So we see this filtering process, and we are aware of the constant filtering and our sense that our breath in and of itself gives life. It is a part of life. We breathe life into everything around us. And we take that as we are given it by everything around us. And so we sit in that knowledge and that reality. And we sit back in our chairs. And we feel the cushion of our chair on us. We feel the feeling of that chair, the softness or the hardness, depending on where you're sitting. We feel it on our bodies. We feel the pressure, and we stay grounded. And we breathe in, and we breathe out. And we breathe in and out. We place ourselves outside in a yard or a park or a forest. And we find our place. And we imagine this environment surrounded by all of these living things, all inanimate things. And we feel them. We feel the feel of the grass on our feet as we're wearing no shoes. We run our toes through the grass. We feel them perhaps tickling the bottom of our feet. We feel the blades of grass and their sheen as we touch them. and the smoothness of the grass. And we ground ourselves in nature. We no longer see ourselves as separate. Although we build houses and shelters to guard us from the environment, in this moment we shed all of those. Our houses vanish. They'll return, but for the moment they're gone. And we're just out in some nature, wilderness. Our feet are bare. It's warm, even hot. We would say the temperature might feel like it was 80 degrees or 85 degrees. And it's midday, and the sun is high in the sky, and the sky is blue, bright blue. And the sun is a yellow ball, and since it's midday, it's up at its highest point in the sky. And as it's summer here in June, it's at the highest point that we will see it over the course of the next 365 days. And so we drink it in. We drink in this moment that as we drink it in, it begins to change. If we were to speed up the clock as we stand outside in this wilderness, in this field, in this park, in this place of greenery, hearing the wind, feeling the heat. And if the clock were speeded up or the sun were speeded up and it was a day later and we looked up in the sky, we probably wouldn't note, but the sun will be in a different spot, not quite as high in the sky, but starting its journey, its slow journey to shorter and shorter days for our perception. But if we were to flip ourselves into the southern hemisphere, perhaps standing in Australia or New Zealand or South Africa, or at the Tierra del Fuego, all the way down on the southern end of the globe, in any of these places, in a field there, the experience for them would be that this is the shortest day of the year, that the sun is at its lowest point, that they will experience, or that we will experience being in the southern hemisphere. Low in the sky, perhaps it's cold there, so we're no longer barefoot in this environment. We have shoes and perhaps boots. We can hear the wind and feel the cold on our fingers. And so we are reminded that all things are combined at all times. It's both hot and the days are long. Sun doesn't set till perhaps 9 o'clock, depending on exactly where you are. We see it as highest in the sky, so its rays are the strongest. We feel it the most, and the day is hot. And then much as we can transport ourselves and our minds out to anywhere, we transport ourselves to the other side of the globe, and the effect is just the opposite. At the same exact moment of experience that we are having here, if we were in the southern hemisphere, in the Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America, it would be short days, it would be dark now. The sun would be gone. We would look up and see stars in the sky. the southern stars, bright perhaps if the sky is clear, and cold, and rather than being in shorts and a t-shirt with our feet dangling in the grass, we would have the experience of wearing boots and a winter coat and a hat, and the wind might be howling, and perhaps we have a fire in front of us. Hold our hands over for the warmth. So it's both warm and cold at the same moment, on the same planet, the same earth, the place we all share. And our experience varies just by our physical location. But all things are there at all times. All of it is existing. And it connects. And if we take ourselves back to where we are in the Northern Hemisphere, and we rejoin the warmth, but we were able to watch a movie we can project out of our minds, outside of us, and we could trace and watch the movement from where we are through South America, through Central America, and South America to the Tierra del Fuego at the tip of South America, and do it slowly, and watch the sun. Our movement would cause the sun to lower in the sky, and we can imagine this phenomena, the experience of our movement moving the sun lower in the sky, and lower in the sky, and lower in the sky, all the way down to night hits as we watch this happening. And we can feel the weather changing as this is happening. And we can experience this by watching this occur. And we are reminded that our reality, how we see things, how we feel perhaps, the sensations on our body, are all related to where we are at any one point in time. And it's always moving and always changing as we float through wherever it is we are placed. And so it is both hot and cold at the same time, light and dark at the same time. We are part of all of this. And we can only experience a small part of it at each moment, but it all exists all at once. And so we remember that we are all connected to it. We are not separate. Our experience is transitory and changing. And if we bring ourselves to our inner life and examine our sensations and our mind, we can note that it too is always changing. Much like the sun moves as we do, much like the weather changes as we do, our thoughts are just like the weather and just like the sun, always moving. And so we open ourselves up completely, feeling a sense of safety and security in where we are in our present moment. And we open ourselves up completely to our experience. And we allow what's ever inside of us to rise and to be seen and not to be afraid of it in any way, not to think about it from an emotional perspective, but to just see it, much as we can see the sun high in the sky when we're in the northern hemisphere, and see the stars at the same time at the bottom of the southern hemisphere. Much as we can feel the heat of the summer in the northern hemisphere and feel the cold of the winter on the same day at the same moment in the southern hemisphere. All things exist all the time at the same time, always churning. And so we come back and we open ourselves up and we allow ourselves to experience everything that's in us as it arises. Whatever comes up, we see and we view, like the sky and the sun above us. And we let it float away. We don't hold on to it. We let it go. If we grasp it and we try to follow it, we're like a rider on a horse, perhaps just holding on to the reins as the horse is running by. Eventually we'll have to let go, but we can feel the pain of the strain and the difficulty of that before we let it go, as opposed to just letting it run by. Seeing it just as it is, just a horse walking through our midst, just a thought walking through our minds, just an emotion that arises at a moment, fleeting, temporary, transitory, impermanent. And as we let go and experience the present moment, perhaps we feel lighter, sense of almost as if we can float and that we can enjoy the moment. And that the moment we have, whatever it is, perhaps we're sitting outside on this warm day, sitting under an umbrella on a rainy day, sitting in our house, reading a book, looking out the window, petting a cat, that event, that moment is complete. It is all we have. It is all we need. And it is moving and changing. And we allow it to do that. We accept that as the reality of our existence, floating through. And so we come back and we get settled and we sit in our place wherever we are, and we bring ourselves back to our chair, to our bed, to our floor, wherever we sit. We take a deep breath in and out. We focus our attention just on that breath. In and out. And in and out. And namaste, may the light in me shine in you.